Yep, so good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer, and welcome to our UN International Day of Awareness of Food Loss and Waste 2025 webinar. The title of this webinar is From Waste to Value, Tackling Food Loss for People, Planet, and Prosperity. Thank you for joining us today. So today, on the UN International Day of Awareness of Food Loss and Waste, we are asked to reflect on the urgent issue of how much food is lost or wasted across not just Canada, but around the world, and what that means for the people, our environment, and our future. Food is an invaluable resource, and this day serves as a powerful reminder of our shared responsibility to value food, reduce waste, and build more sustainable systems that nourish both people and the planet. As we recognize the efforts of individuals and organizations who work tirelessly to address food insecurity, we also focus on educating and inspiring others to take meaningful action. Through learning about the global and local phenomena of food loss and waste, as well as hearing real stories and solutions from the field, we can explore how they too can make a difference. Whether through advocacy, community service, thoughtful practices, or even everyday choices at home, it all starts with education and awareness. So this webinar offers a unique opportunity to explore the realities and complexities of food systems, examine the connections between food loss, waste, and climate change, and highlight how these issues intersect with sustainable development. Our goal is to equip everyone with the knowledge and tools to take action, influence change, and contribute to a sustainable future where food is valued, resources are preserved, and no one's left behind. So I'll be co-hosting this webinar alongside my amazing colleagues. I'm going to invite everyone to wave. So we're going to start with a welcome and land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the lands which constitute the present-day city of Mississauga as being part of the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Huron-Wendat, and the Wyandot Nations. We recognize that these people and their ancestors as people who inhabited these lands since time immemorial. The city of Mississauga is home to many global Indigenous communities.
The Sustainable Community Aid Network is a community-based nonprofit organization committed to building inclusive, sustainable futures through education, engagement, and advocacy. The Arts of SCAN's mission is the belief that climate action must be equitable and that meaningful environmental change starts with informed and empowered communities. Through a range of culturally responsive programs, including environmental education, climate justice, webinars, youth entrepreneurship, and food security initiative, SCAN works at the intersection of environmental sustainability and social equity by centering the lived experience of marginalized and racialized groups. SCAN ensures that no one is left behind in the transition to a greener Canada. In alignment with the UN International Day of Awareness of Food Loss and Waste 2025, SCAN proudly presents the webinar From Waste to Value, Tackling Food Loss for People, Planet, and Prosperity,
Those two are
and
my
leads
mom's
the
friends. I don't know. I think maybe ours.
and leads the Awareness to Action campaign. This initiative raises awareness of food loss and waste as a climate, social justice, and economic issue, and highlights innovative solutions across household, businesses, and communities. It links action directly to the SDG 12.3, halving per capita global food waste by 2030. Finally, it inspires cross-sector collaboration between policymakers, industry, NGOs, and citizens. This work directly connects with the mission of the Sustainable Community Aid Network, whose program focuses on building resilience, equity, and sustainability for marginalized communities.
Hello, Bimoulé d'abord. Ça faisait un moment, Joyce et moi,
Environbuzz magazine is a leading voice in the environmental, social, and government storytelling, empowering individuals, businesses, and communities to share their sustainability journey and inspire meaningful change. Ranked 10 in the top 25 ESG magazine on the web and 12 among green business blogs by FeedSpot. Environbuzz reaches over Environbuzz reaches over 43,000 unique visitors with features published weekly. The magazine provides a high-impact platform to showcase progress, raise ESG profiles, and build credibility in the global sustainability space. As a proud partner of the From Waste to Value webinar, the Awareness to Action campaign, EnvironBuzz is committed to amplifying voices that are turning climate consciousness into tangible community-rooted action.
So here is a breakdown of what we will be discussing today. We'll have a feature presentation and 4 amazing speakers with us today, and they'll be introduced shortly. We will start with a short poll and a feature presentation. Next, we will do some quick activities that also include an interactive poll. We will then introduce our panelists, and they will talk about the great work that they are doing with their organizations. And immediately after will be a panel discussion with them. We will give you an opportunity to ask questions. Please put your questions in the chat. After our panel interactions, we will present the community challenges we have lined up during this campaign. And finally, we will close the webinar with a few words about how they're connected for our upcoming webinars and close the presentation. So here are our wonderful speakers for today. They are Obi Agasibi, Harris Ahmed, Anisha Stewart, Lola Adeniji, and Zach H. Abdi. Unfortunately, we have been advised that Lori will not be participating in this panel today due to unforeseen circumstances. These speakers will be introduced again before their segments.
Before our feature presentation, let's warm up with a quick poll. Where do you think the most food waste happens, at a farm, retail, household, and restaurant? While you're answering the poll, I will introduce our feature presentation, Obi Agosibe. Obi Agosibe is a visionary leader in sustainability and environmental management, renowned for her expertise in and ESG strategies and climate justice. As the founder of SCAN and the founder and CEO of EnvironFocus, an award-winning environmental consulting firm, she drives transformative solutions aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. A certified environmental manager, energy auditor, and sustainable professional, Obi brings over 24 years of experience leading cross-border sustainability initiatives, corporate social investment programs, and climate action projects. Her work focuses on fostering inclusive community development, advancing climate resilience, and promoting innovative, equitable solutions for a sustainable future. She's passionate about bridging policy with grassroots impact. Obi is a speaker, advisor, and advocate for sustainable business practices, environmental justice, and ethical leadership. Through her venture, she continues to inspire organizations and individuals to take bold, measurable steps towards a greener, more just world. I will now pass it on to Obi.
Thank you, Aisha. Thank you. So, welcome everyone. Today, we will explore how food loss and waste are not just about what goes into the garbage. It's about climate change. It's about equity. It's about missed opportunities for prosperity. In Canada, tackling food waste is both a responsibility and an opportunity. So the big picture, global food waste. So globally, 1/3 of all food produced never gets eaten. That's $1 trillion lost every year, $1 trillion lost every year. And food waste is responsible for up to 10% of greenhouse gas emissions worldwide. This greenhouse gas emissions data has been consistently cited by the World Resources Institute, that's the BRI, United Nations Environmental Program, UNEP, and the World WWF. So the emissions can come from energy used to produce, transport, and store food that is never eaten, and most significantly from the methane released when organic waste composition decomposes in landfill. So methane is a greenhouse gas over 25 times more potent than CO2, so carbon dioxide, over a 100-year period. So to put that into perspective, if food waste were a country, it will be the 3rd largest emitter after China and US. So putting things into context, when you say food loss versus food waste. Now, the statement combines both food loss typically occurs earlier in the supply chain, example during harvest, transport, or storage, then more common in developing countries. So then, or you look at food waste, which occurs later at the retail and consumer levels, and it's more common in developed countries. So these figures are primarily from the UN's Sustainable Development Goal 12.3, which aims to have global food waste at the retail consumer levels and reduce food losses during production and supply chain by 2030. Next slide. Right, so here in Canada, the challenge is even sharper. So according to the Second Harvest report, which was done in 2019, so 58% of all food produced is lost or wasted. This includes food that is diverted to productive uses like animal feed, biomaterial processing, and composting. So the amount of food that is truly wasted, that is edible food that ends up as landfill, down the drain, or otherwise not consumed by people, is about 32%. Now that's worth almost 50 billion each year and tied to more than 56 million tons of greenhouse gases. So this isn't just food going bad, it's a system problem. Next slide. So food insecurity in Canada. Okay, so now contrast that with the reality of food insecurity. So in 2022, 18% of Canadian households struggle to put food on the table, but the burden isn't equal. So Black households face 36% food insecurity, Indigenous households 28%, and Arab households 22%, South Asian households 19%, while the white households are 12%. So food waste is an equity issue. So racialized populations consistently experience higher odds of food insecurity than the white population, even after accounting for over other factors like immigration status, education, and household income. So a massive amount of edible food is wasted in Canada, as we had already stated in our previous slides. So the value is in the tens of billions of dollars. Now, at the same time, a significant portion of the population with a stark disparity along racial lines cannot reliably access the food. No, so therefore, the failure is to redirect surplus food to people in need as baits. So the failure to redirect surplus food to people in need as baits existing social and economic inequalities. The system that allows for such waste is the same system that fails to ensure equitable food access. So when you put things into context, when you say struggle to put food on the table, you can say it's a layman's description of food insecurity. So with Statistics Canada, where Statistics Canada defines as households reporting compromised diet quality and or food intake due to financial constraints. The data highlights systemic inequalities. So the report attributes the disparity to factors higher, like higher rates of poverty, lower median wages, and the impacts of discrimination and colonialism faced by these communities. Looking at the environmental impact, okay? Next slide. Now, food waste is a hidden driver of climate change. Why hidden? Hidden, we say, because many people don't immediately connect throwing away food with climate change. Now, the emissions occur throughout the life cycle. So from the fuel used for farming and transport to the methane released when organic matter decomposes in landfill. The emissions from food loss and waste across Canada's entire supply chain represents approximately 8.1% of Canada's total greenhouse gas emissions. This aligns with the global estimate of up to 10% cited in our initial slides. This figure is the same as putting 12 million cars on the road. So cutting food waste is one of the fastest ways to lower emission while saving money and resources. So why do we say this, right? So unlike complex technologies, unlike complex technological solutions, right? Like decarbonizing heavy industry, reducing food waste is an action that can be implemented immediately at all levels. So by farmers, by businesses, and consumers. So the solution often involves efficiency gain, better planning, and redistribution, which can yield quicker results. So when we speak of saving money and resources, this is a direct benefit. So for a household, wasting less food saves money on groceries. For a business, it improves the bottom line. For the economy, it represents billions in lost value. It also saves the vast resources. So you're looking at water, land, energy, labor used to produce the food. Next slide. So looking at from waste to value, so looking at it from the circular, looking at it like to solve this issue. So we have to look at it circular. Like, so what this means is, so when we say reduce, right, we're saying waste before it happens. So we're looking at smarter supply chains. We're looking at clearer labels, right? Now, this is widely known as source reduction. It's the most efficient strategy because it prevents waste and all the associated resources and emissions from being generated in the first place. Now, when you look at smarter supply chains, right, you're looking at improving harvesting techniques, storage transportation, inventory management, so you minimize losses from farm to store. We are looking at clearer labels, right, which is a major cause of consumer waste, right? It's the confusion over best before and use by dates. Now, the best before is about quality, not safety, and much food is perfectly edible after this date. So advocacy for standardizing the educating on date label is a key part of reduction strategy. Now, when we look at recover, right? Recover is how do we recover surplus food and redirect it to food banks and shelters. Now, this step is about food recovery or redistribution for food that is still safe and edible, but not sellable due to cosmetic imperfection, overstock, or approaching best before dates. Now, the goal is to divert it to people in need. So organizations like Second Harvest and local food banks specialize in this logistic network. So this directly addresses the equity issue mentioned in our previous slides. Now, recycle. It's what can be eaten, right? It's being turned into compost. It's bioenergy, animal feed. So for food scraps and waste that is no longer edible for humans, so you're looking at the peels, the bones, the spoiled food. The goal is to keep it out of landfill where it produces methane. Instead, it can be used, the composted, so create nutrient-rich soil amendments turned into bioenergy through anaerobic digestion, which captures methane for energy, used as animal feed, diverting suitable food scraps to feed livestock. So every stage of the cycle adds value instead of loss. So moving from linear, which is take, make, waste, to a circular one where when you look at reduce, you're saving money on production, purchase, and disposal. When you look at recover, you're providing social value by feeding people and saving charities money. When you look at recycle, you're creating valuable products like compost and energy. Next slide. All right, so case studies in Canada. All right, so across Canada, we're seeing inspiring examples. Second Harvest rescues surplus food and redistributes it nationally. La Table de Chef in Quebec repurposes food for shelters. Indigenous-led food sovereignty programs support community harvesting and sharing. These show what's possible when communities, businesses, and not-profits work together. Next slide. So, economic and social opportunity. All right, so the benefits are huge, right? If we cut food waste in half, we could save 21 billion annually. No, this figure is probably higher due to inflation and rising costs, from 2019 when it was published, right? So that's enough food for 4.5 billion meals. It also creates jobs in logistics, technology, and green innovation, while strengthening community food systems and equity. So redirecting surplus food to communities directly strengthens local food systems by ensuring more people have access. As previous slides on equity showed, food insecurity disproportionately affects marginalized communities. Therefore, reducing waste and improving redistribution is a direct step towards greater food equity. Next slide. So solutions start with us, but they grow when we act together. As individuals, we can plan meals, buy what we need, and support food recovery networks. As communities, we can advocate for stronger policies and systems. The journey from need to we is how change becomes sustainable. Next slide. So, food waste isn't inevitable. As Will.i.am said, waste is only waste if we waste it. Let's choose differently. Together, we can turn waste into value for people, for the planet, and for prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Obi, for that amazing presentation. I hope we all walked away with a clearer understanding of the state of food insecurity, not only in Canada, but on a global scale as well. We will now move on to our second poll activity. Please take a minute to answer these questions about your skills and connections to food waste as we transition to our panels.
Now we will move on to the panel discussion. Before we proceed with discussion, we will introduce the speakers and they will each be given 2 minutes to present their organization initiative. A timer will be shown in the call. Please be aware of the time of each session.
So to start off, I would like to introduce Harris Ahmed from Zero Food Waste Canada. Harris Ahmed is the co-founder and director of Zero Food Waste Canada. He advocates for food justice, equity-driven community change, health policy, redirecting surplus food to underserved communities while pursuing a medical degree. I will now pass it on to Harris. You have 2 minutes for your presentation, and the timer starts now.
Thanks, Jennifer. And really nice to meet everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. So Zero Food Waste. Zero Food Waste was a national youth-led nonprofit I co-founded back in 2019 with my sister and a friend of ours. It was kind of born because I was seeing this paradox of my parents working in a supermarket where perfectly good food was thrown away. And then at home, we struggled to put food on the table. That contradiction motivated me to build something community driven. So what we do is really simple and powerful. We rescue surplus food from restaurants, grocery stores, and caterers, and we redirect that to people who really need it. So over the past 5 years, we've grown into a registered charity with chapters in multiple Canadian cities: Calgary, Edmonton, Hamilton, Toronto, and Ottawa. And in that time, we redirected more than 200,000 pounds of food. That's the equivalent of about 150,000 meals or over 200,000 pounds of the carbon dioxide. And we partnered with many nonprofits to either do meal events, to do educational programming like panels like this, and more. We've been recognized by the Alberta Premier's Northern Lights Award, and we've grown from doing one pickup, where it was just one volunteer who was my dad, to over 370 volunteers. We created multilingual newcomer resource guides and even installed community fridges. So students can access food, and so can the community with dignity. And so the stigma is removed from that. During COVID, we also shifted to provide 10,000 care packages and chef prepared meals for our community, showing how flexible care can be. Wrapping up, because I'm very cognizant of time, zero food waste to me was proof that youth-led, community-driven action can really address the topic of this panel: people, planet, and prosperity all at the same time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Harris, for sharing your story. Your organization does some truly great work to redistributing food and to inform communities.
Next, we have Anisha Stewart from Mama's Healing Garden. Anisha is the executive director of Mama's Healing Garden. Our organization fosters food sovereignty, cultural preservation, and holistic healing, connecting Afro, Indigenous, and Caribbean traditions with a sustainable farming, youth engagement, and community resilience. I will now pass it on to Anisha. You have 2 minutes for your presentation, and your time starts now.
Greetings, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. Okay, awesome. So Mama's Healing Garden is a grassroots organization that is community-led, and we are committed to advancing food sovereignty, holistic healing, and cultural empowerment, as well as equity for Black, Indigenous, and marginalized communities in Toronto. So our story began way in, I would say, 2018. And we noticed that many allotment-based gardens often ended up neglected and halfway through, and just a growing food insecurity crisis within our community. We wanted to start gardening and planting for ourselves. So we started planting in 2020, and by 2022 we turned into a not-for-profit, and we started our first garden space using a collective growing model approach where the community comes together to grow instead of allotment plots, in hopes of reducing the food waste. So like I said, Mama's Healing Garden launched our first site in 2022 as a small grassroots initiative, and we've since expanded to 3 locations by this year. Our growth reflects community demand for the revitalization of underutilized spaces, and also for the need for clean, fresh food for our community. So sorry, is the time up? I'm not sure.
Yes.
No, we can wrap up.
So
We can wrap up really quick.
Okay, the time is up? Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
It's okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anisha, for the wonderful initiative to encourage Black youths to get in touch with farming.
Thank you.
So next we have Lola Adeniji from the Flawless Cuisine Toronto restaurant. Lola Adeniji is a visionary CEO of Flawless Cuisine and redefines fine dining through elegance, creativity, and excellence, delivering unforgettable culinary experiences that blend innovation, sophistication, and flawless presentation for luxury events worldwide. I will now pass it on to Lola. You now have 2 minutes for your presentation, and the timer starts now.
Thank you very much. My name is Lola Adeniji. I hope you can all hear me.
Yes.
Okay, yes. My name is Lola Adeniji. I started Flawless Cuisine about 8 years ago with the intention of bringing authentic West African cuisine to a wide audience in Canada. And it has been a very interesting journey for me in curating our menu to be able to suit our palate, and at the same time to encourage other diversity to try our meals as well. So I'm happy to be here to discuss about how we've been able to use sustainable products, packaging to ensure that our meals are, as fresh as possible, and we source our ingredients locally to be able to make our meals here as well. So thanks for the opportunity. I'm happy to be here to discuss about food waste and how this affects our planet.
Thank you so much, Lola,
Thank you.
for your contribution to fostering spaces that share cultural diversity through food, all while keeping sustainability in mind.
Next, we have Zach H. Abdi, the Managing Director at Provectus Enterprising. Zach is a sustainability advocate focused on food waste recycling, renewable energy, HR strategies, and competency development. He has experience in green economy, DEI organizational design leadership, and building impactful workforce solutions. I will now pass it on to Zach, and you have 2 minutes for your presentation.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a great honor to meet so many of you. And I see a lot of ladies, of course, and why not? They are the 50% equal stakeholder of this planet anyways. So it's wonderful to see that. I started Provectus Enterprising way back in 2018 in Toronto. And in Dubai, we were operating since 2012. I come from oil and gas industry, so I can understand when people talk about biogas plant as a source of taking care of waste to energy. We understand what the biogas is made of, and so on. So if you and I are looking at the opportunity of creating circular economy at best, trying to create an opportunity where we can do regenerative agriculture at best, meaning that we can grow food again in order for us to have food on our table. At the same time, the food that you and I are throwing them away is causing all kinds of problems, including, of course, the greenhouse gas, such as methane gas, similar to what we get from waste energy from biogas, by the way. We also try to make people understand that food waste is not something, why not turn the food waste into food value? So that's what we're doing in Africa right now. We are also doing in other parts of the world, whereby we are trying to explain to them that all of those can be made as a resources rather than throwing them away. So thank you very much for having me, and I'll be great. It will be a great honor for me to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zach, for the amazing work that you're doing to bring to different initiatives to the African community.
So as I'm sure we can all agree, we have an amazing lineup of panelists today, and we are honored that they have taken their time to come and share their knowledge and expertise with us. And I hope we all learned something from them. We will now start the panel discussions, and I will pass it on to Obi.
All right, thanks, Jennifer. All right, so thank you. I'll be moderating the session, right? So I'm excited, happy. So the panel will include Anisha, Harris, Lola, and Zach. So each panelist will have a question directed at them. There will be a minimum of 1 question per panelist, depending on time. Each answer will have a 2-minute time slot. At the end of the webinar, we will reach out to each panelist for answers to their remaining questions, like if we do not go through all the questions, which will be published in our Environment magazine. Now I'm going to start this panel discussion with, first is Harris, right? First question I have for you is, now, your organization is youth-led, right? What role do you see young leaders playing in the movement to tackle food waste and promote sustainability?
Thank you so much, Obi. And thank you for pointing that out. We are youth-led. I think people really often say that youth are the leaders of tomorrow. But my experience has been that youth are already leading today. So, Jennifer, never mind. Oh, I sorry, it's a green box just popped up for someone, so I thought someone was speaking.
No worries.
No. So at Zero Foodways, we're building a youth-led model on purpose because it's been our biggest strength. Being youth-led has meant we aren't afraid to try things that others might dismiss. We've designed multilingual resource guides so newcomers can access community services in their own language. Because we're youth-led, we are often in many spaces where we see what the intersection of food security, food waste, and community impact look like. And so being youth-led, we've also set up community fridges on campuses across Canada because we know from experience what it felt like to study while skipping meals. And that's the point, right? Youth leadership ties people and planet together really naturally. I grew up in an era of climate crises and deep inequities. For me, food waste isn't an abstract concept, and it isn't for many other young people. It's about hunger in our classrooms. It's about climate emissions tied to landfills. It's about the weather outside right now being pretty warm here in Toronto for it being closer to winter. And it's about the prosperity we're risking in our infrastructure, in our people, in our communities if you don't take action right now. So our zero food waste solutions always reflected that dual urgency. It's about caring for one another, for providing food and meals, but also caring for the environment at the same time. I was really mentored when I started, and I think another piece of youth leadership in this space is mentoring other people after us too. There's a lot of leaders on this panel right now, and also just within this panel too. And so I think when you create pathways for other people, these movements don't end with us. They grow and evolve, and they get passed on to younger people, to older people, to everyone. It becomes intergenerational.
Right. Thanks, Harris. That was a great answer. Yeah, so youth are our future. They are future, and them being part of the solution means that there's prosperity, like it's going to reach farther. It's not just going to end with us. It's not going to end with this generation. It's going to go, into the next generation and the next and the next and the next, which is what we want. All right, thanks. So great. So next question is going to go to Anisha, right? Now, Anisha, so my question to you is, gardening requires time, consistency, and energy, something that can feel overwhelming for individuals. How has your collective approach of growing together helped prevent waste, build community resilience, and strengthen participation in your garden spaces?
By honoring and utilizing our Afro-Indigenous practice of community farming, we are able to collectively work together. So no one carries the entire responsibility. If one person is unable to attend, there's many more that is going to be there. And this helps to keep our garden spaces thriving. This helps prevent food waste and oh, sorry. Is there someone else
I know
speaking?
that she's not reaching for the phone. I hate when people are giving
Sorry,
children.
Oh no, she's not reaching for it. She's trying to reach for that. You saw
Sorry.
your mother.
When people share knowledge and look after each other and face challenges together. Sorry, are you guys able to hear me? Because someone else is
Yes,
speaking.
we can hear.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure
Okay.
out.
So and face challenges together. They create natural support networks that extend beyond the garden. Through our school partnership and youth experience, we experience this resilience firsthand. So they engage in hands-on learning about sustainability, the wellness and benefits of gardening, and how food systems are tied to our community care. These programs also connect youth with opportunities from earning volunteer hours to building skills that can lead to paid roles with our organization as resources grow. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Anisha. That was great. So yeah, so having, your community spaces, people working together, I think that's a great way where people know where their food is coming from, right? They're touching their food, and they know the quality of the food that they're getting. So that's really great. So our next question will go to Lola. Okay. So my question to you is, fine dining often faces challenges with food surplus and waste because you're the consumer, you're not the consumer end. What strategies have you implemented to minimize food waste without compromising the dining experience?
So for fine dining, we are being intentional with every menu that we curate to the T, and we work closely with our client to get the accurate figure of guests attending a particular event. So with that, we're able to present food sufficient enough for you to enjoy, and at the same time, avoid waste. In as much as we want to keep food safe, after all of the events and all of that, we ensure that, our guests, if we have leftovers, we package them, and they take this food home for them to also enjoy at home. So with that, we're able to reduce waste, and at the same time, we avoid the loss of the food surplus. So that's what our organization, we've been able to put. We work closely with our clients to get the accurate number of guests for your event. So
Thanks, Lola. That's great. So the idea of being able to, take home, because I'm sure from experience, maybe at events, you don't eat as much as you would really like, right? So the ability to take that good
yes,
food,
sometimes.
right? The ability to take
Yes.
that good food home is really good. You're able to feed your family in the process. So yes, that's a good idea. Thank you for that. Okay, so our next question goes to Zach, right? So my question to you is, food loss contributes significantly to carbon emissions. Could you share your perspective on how organizations can integrate food waste reduction into broader strategies for mitigating climate impact?
Well, first of all, we have to understand the definition of food loss and food waste. Food loss normally, as Ahmed was pointing out before about him working in the supermarket with his dad, and why he got inspired of doing what he's doing right now, which is very, very commendable, because he could see, where am I?
No, that's not for you. That was for Lola. So
All right. So the point is, again, is that food loss is definition by food loss is the one that we grow and we throw. And food waste is the one that we have coming out from half-eaten apple, half banana peel, and all kinds of food scrap that we have. So understanding the current situation for most of the countries, most of the cities, where landfills are full. A landfill, as you said, Obi, the landfills are the place where there's a lot of greenhouse gas emission taking place, such as methane gas. So if those things are the thing that is causing all kinds of problems, this is where Provectus came up with the solution to say, why not recycle the food waste to create food stream that we can create an opportunity where we can reuse them again. I will use banana peel once more. Banana peel, which is 40% of banana. Well, 40% of banana peel, that also, when it goes to a landfill, also causes the same situation as what I just pointed out, as what we have already understood. So why not convert the banana peel into something that could have a value proposition for the people? So what we're doing is that we convert the banana peel into biomass that we can use them again as a chicken feed, fish feed, or even as a fertilizer. So those are the things that what we do and with Provectus. So the whole idea of engaging what we do at Provectus, we customize machines for each and every individual companies. So that supports the ESG and EPR situation. And we'll be more than happy to explain to you furthermore. Thank you very much before you start playing the music.
Thanks, Zach. So that was great. So yes, really, really, interested in your solution. It's innovative, I think. So, it's interesting how you're going from, how you said most people like, so from waste to energy, right? So you're going from waste to food stream. Like, like that's interesting. Okay, great. So we're good on time, which is really great, which is our goal. So I'm going to go another round of questioning, okay, for our panelists, right? So I'm going to go back to Harris, right? So so my question to you is I'm trying to think the best. So by founding Zero Food Waste Canada, right? You've led efforts to reduce food loss and redirect surplus food to underserved communities. So how has this experience highlighted the importance of community-driven solutions for food justice and social equity?
Thank you, Obi. And yeah, no, thank you so much, Obi, for asking that question. I think when I think of community care, I don't think, like I mentioned before, just about people helping people, which is what community is, right? It's like a meal that you give to a friend. It's about showing up when someone is too tired or doesn't have the money to cook, so you just give them a meal, like providing a meal for your neighbor. But I also think about communities caring for each other and for the environment that sustains us. So when I co-founded Zero Food Waste, I really thought at the very beginning the solution was really straightforward. You take surplus food from restaurants, you deliver it to nonprofits and directly to people who need it. But it didn't take that long for me to realize that you can design solutions from assumptions. You only discover what people truly need when you sit with them, you listen to them, and sometimes, like me, when you've lived those same experiences yourself. During COVID, that became really clear because some families wanted fresh produce. Others needed hygiene kits because they just couldn't afford that. That was what they needed at that time. And sometimes the most powerful thing was just to come back week after week, just so they knew that there was a consistent meal the following week. That shift for me from transactions of just giving food to relationships is, I think, what transformed Zero Food Waste or Food Rescue Project into a mutual aid network. Um, and at the same time, every pound of food we redirected was one less pound of food releasing methane in a landfill too. It's not only though about neighbors, it's also about how we care for our land and our water and the system that feeds us. And so the amount of CO2 we prevented is as key as the amount of people we fed. I think this is especially meaningful for me because Truth and Reconciliation Day is tomorrow, right? That's why I'm wearing an orange shirt today, and I will be for the rest of the week. But Indigenous teachings really remind us that care for our community in Canada and care for the land are inseparable. You can't build justice for people without building justice for the environment. And when we do both, we're not only protecting today's communities with a meal, we're also creating prosperity for future generations. So to me, the importance of community-driven solutions is that like they grow from the ground up, they're rooted in relationships and people on the planet. And I think that makes it more sustainable than anything you could create or start or do that comes from the top and comes down to you.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, community driven is key. Community driven is longevity, it's prosperity, right? Because community working together, they're able to transfer the information, transfer the knowledge, grow together, and you're able to actually meet them at their point of need, right? Which goes a long way. Great, thank you. So next question will be Anisha. So for Anisha, so your work, so I think it's question, yeah. So your work centers around connecting people to food systems through gardening and cultural traditions. How do these efforts help community members understand the value of reducing food waste and strengthening local food network?
It's I see that we're having these conversations today because on a global scale, we've lost the connection to land. We've lost the connection to our ancestral practices of living in community, supporting each other, and living off the land and allowing the land to nourish ourselves. Gardening, it teaches the value of food by showing the time, energy, and care it takes to grow it. Our youth are able to either put a seed in or put a seedling in. And from that seed, they're able to see the production of how much food comes from that. They're actually able to experience abundance in real time and to see it and to know that they were a part of the creation of that abundance. Our programs encourage residents to share the produce. Like, it's community, it's not individually owned, it's owned by all of us. We all receive from it. We cook communally when we can, and we redistribute the surplus to various food banks, or sometimes we deliver it to people who can't come and pick up. This way, we are preventing food from being discarded. We also raise awareness about how local food networks can cut waste from transportation and overproduction. These practices make food systems more resilient and community-centered. We emphasize gardening as a cultural practice. Definitely, like I said before, it's rooted in our Afro, Indigenous, and Caribbean traditions, where food was never wasted because it carried both spiritual and survival value. By growing food collectively, people learn to respect the effort that goes into producing it and become more mindful of using it fully. Thank you.
Thank you, Anisha. So that was great. So when we were speaking, I was just, when you put energy into something, right? Like when you're the one growing the food, you have put your sweat inside, right? It is very difficult to throw it away without feeling it, right? It's like when you cook, when you would want to have cooked something, somebody throwing out that food, it hurts you. Like, how can you throw out my energy, my effort? So, and that's kind of what we lost when we put all the grocery stores in, that connection to food connecting, but we lost it. And the appreciation for what goes into creating that food is not, you don't feel it, impact is not there. So if you just throw it out and forgetting that it actually means something, right? It means something to somebody, the farmer, who put it in. All right, great. So next question, right, is going to Lola. Okay.
Yes.
So my question to you is, so your philosophy emphasizes creating unforgettable experiences through innovation and sophistication. How can innovative culinary practices contribute to a more sustainable food system?
So our flawless cuisine, part of our team practice is to we respect our ingredients. Just like what Anisha said, like, there's so much effort that has been put into producing a certain amount of a particular food, right? Like, when you respect this ingredient to the end result, it goes a long way. So for innovation for us, I started a frozen food line. During the season where we have peppers in abundance, just like this period, right? We process and freeze, and we're able to enjoy this same fresh ingredient and entirely throughout the year. So with that, they say that when you freeze a produce, when you freeze at the, most of the time, things come to us, for example, in a frozen form, it's frozen at the freshest form, But our own community, we've not been able to embrace that because, from farm to table kind of thing. But, flawless cuisine, we've been able to emphasize that these ingredients, when you freeze them, when we produce and freeze them, it still comes to you as fresh as it can be. So with this, when ingredients are in abundance, we process, we make it into delicious meals, freeze, and at the same time, we can enjoy these meals throughout the entire year. So that's part of the innovation, like we've been able to put in place, flash freezing ingredients for the year round.
Thanks, Lola. That's great. That's great. Yes. So thanks for that. So each business, you innovate the way that works for you. You use it from your purchase, from your losses, you're able to design things that work for your system for you. It's innovative, it's creating you're maximizing your profit, you're still retaining your quality, and you're reducing waste, which is awesome. Great. So the next question goes to Zach. Okay. So how can CSR programs, right? When we say CSR means corporate social responsibility programs, right? Be designed to not only reduce environmental impact, such as food waste, but also enhance social equity and community well-being.
Well, first of all, CSR is dead. I'm sorry to say that, but that's what happened. So rest in peace, CSR, because it's corporate social responsibility. That's what it is. The corporate social responsibility. So there are a lot of people who are in this webinar where we are, and many others who are listeners. They're not part of the corporate entity. So why alienate them by putting this umbrella of CSR? So based on that, they have turned them into a new approach called ESG, which is environmental social governance. Now the environmental social governance, the word is governance. So if there's a governance can only happen when you have a good green covenant. Just like 10 Commandments, we had commandment, that was a covenant. So based on the covenant, then you need to create a green governance. That green governance will help shape green citizen. And that's what we believe in, and that's what I have mentioned on the chat. We believe in creating the awareness from bottom up, so that every one of us become a stakeholder. Every one of us can do something better than what we have been doing. But to do something better, you need a machine. You need to know how you're going to do it. So the how part, that's where Provectus comes in, providing that solution that is helping them to rethink, to recalibrate, to re-engineer their best practices. And that's what we believe in. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great. Yes. So CSR, it has moved over to ESG, and very soon, maybe in the next 10 years, you move over to something. So we have that constantly evolving. Everything is constantly evolving. Before CSR was something else, so the evolution keeps going.
If I may add one more, we also have EPR, which is Extended Producer's Responsibility. We have failed in our EPR, and we are failing. Why we're failing? Because we produce so much and we throw them. So we grow and throw. So that is counterproductive, and that doesn't help. So why not do something better to avoid the landfill problem and, of course, the greenhouse emission, such as the methane gas that you and I talked about before.
Thank you. That's great. Awesome. Okay, so I want everybody, the participants, right, start preparing your questions, because I'm going to go around one more time to each panelist. No, we're not there yet. I have one more question to go. So let's go back to Harris. Okay, but everybody else, on the audience, please start preparing your questions. You can keep put in the chat, or you can prepare to, present your question. So, because we're good on time, which is really very good. We're really happy about that. So I'm able to go to the third question, right? Now, Harris, this is to you. Yeah. You have a strong interest in connecting food justice with health policy. How can reducing food waste make a meaningful difference in public health and nutrition security?
Thank you so much for the question, Obi. Food waste is not just a social and environmental problem, it is a public health issue, and I'm really glad that we're talking about that. When nutritious food ends up in landfills instead of people's plates, we're wasting opportunities to prevent illness, to protect the environment, and to build long-term prosperity, which has been the theme of this conversation today. At Zero Food Waste, I've seen how redistribution makes a difference. So during the pandemic, we partnered with a shawarma chain in Calgary, Jerusalem Shawarma, and we partnered with them and other chefs in and around the city to prepare balanced meals for families. We worked especially with newcomer and indigenous communities to make sure those meals were culturally relevant to them. It wasn't just filling stomachs, it was about nutrition, security, dignity, health equity, health policy. And so at the same time, it also meant food wasn't rotting in landfills, and it was a better impact on the climate overall. I think for me, that work has really shaped policy advocacy because I'm not sure how many people here know this, but Canada is still one of the only G7 countries without a national school food program. So even though we know it improves learning and long-term health outcomes, because food waste, it's called food, healthy, nutritious food is linked to diabetes, it's linked to cardiovascular diseases, it's linked to mental health, it's linked to just living a fulfilling life. So I think it's really important when we talk about food waste reduction, we link that reforms to structures and structural equity, and we connect that not only with the climate, but also with health. As you guys, as Obi mentioned at the very start of this conversation, I'm on the path to becoming a physician. Food rescue and food security is a form of preventative medicine. It relieves pressures on our healthcare systems because when people are eating healthy, they are healthy and they don't need to see a doctor as often. So long before they enter a clinic, long before they see someone like me, they are living healthy, nutritious lives because they're getting the food they need to live those healthy, nutritious lives. It's one of many ways and a very, very tangible way for us when we're talking about the health of our planet, the health of our people, the health of our communities, is just making sure that they get enough to eat. And making sure that they only get enough to eat, but get enough good, nutritious food to eat. So as a future healthcare professional, and for all of us as future change makers and community organizers, we really have a responsibility to make those connections real because when we do, then people buy in. They care because it's personal.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. So yes, it is good food. Food is connected to health. Like one of the programs we do in SCAN is food as medicine. So we do that with seniors, we do that, we actually with our core audience as seniors, but we do that with everybody and anybody that wants to be part of it because food is medicine. Good food comes even better medicine. Okay, great. So the next question is going to go to Anisha. Okay. Let's see. Right. So now is it looking ahead, right? What resources, partnerships, or system changes do you think are most necessary for organizations like Mama's Living Garden to not only reduce food waste, but also build lasting food security in underdeserved communities?
So for organizations like ours, stable resources and funding are key to sustaining and expanding programs. Many community gardens struggle because funding cycles are short or long-term, and long-term infrastructure isn't always supported. We also need strong partnerships with schools, municipalities, and local organizations. Partnerships that go beyond short-term projects to real collaboration in building community food systems. On a systemic level, we need policies that value community-driven food sovereignty, recognizing the role of cultural traditions in creating sustainable food practices. At MHG, we're committed to doing our part by creating spaces where food isn't just grown, it's honored, shared, and tied directly to wellness and community care. But lasting food security requires both grassroots innovation and systemic support. Some key resources that are needed is definitely stable funding for staff and programming, infrastructure support like greenhouses so we could produce food all year round and not just 5 months out of the year. Policy recognition of community gardens as essential food security infrastructures are really important. And yeah, systemic changes are needed, greater investment in community-based food solutions and recognition of our cultural knowledge as a driver of sustainability. And that's it.
Great. Thanks, Anisha. So yeah, you do like most farmers, most producers, they do need help. They do need
Yeah.
assistance in order to do the work that they do, right? Because when it comes to land and working with nature, you can't control it, right? You can't control what you produce, you can't control the quantity. So you do need some kind of assistance to get that going and with partnerships, right? So looking into partnerships like with zero waste, like with Zach, all the panelists here, look into partnerships, to see how far, we can all
Oh,
go.
and if I could add as well, definitely access to land is very at the one of the most important pieces to it. Being able, the more access to more land is the more food we're able to grow. I think in these conversations, when we're speaking about access to food, we need fresh, nutritious, clean food because there's a difference between clean food and just food that's being mass produced in terms of their nutritional value. We cannot use that food as medicine if it doesn't have the nutritional value that we need for it to actually nourish our bodies. My apology. Go ahead.
Sometimes you want to throw it in. All right, great. So next, Lola, this is for you, right? As a leader in the culinary world, what advice would you give to other chefs and catering professionals who want to combine excellence with sustainability and reduce food waste in their operations? What advice would you give?
So for people who are just starting out, I would suggest that they start small, know your menu. Over the years, I've been able to know what works and what doesn't. And in that, we're able to produce or we're able to present to our clients food that the guest would enjoy. So I would advise that, start small and plan with precision. Know your number of guests, work closely with your client to be able to affirm. So for me, I go as far as asking my client, for past events you've had, how many guests? How did it go? In terms of, the meal, the menu, and all of that, all those things go a long way in avoiding food surplus. And at the same time, sometimes professionally, we are able to advise our clients to say, sometimes because of uncertainty, and say, and you want your food vendor to overproduce. At the same time, at the end of the day, the food might go to waste. So I would say that, step by step, baby steps, know your work, your inventory management would also help to determine the kind of meal that your guests will enjoy. So know your clients. I will advise a new, startup, understand your market. For me, I'm into the West African meals, authentic West African meals. I have been able, over the years, I've been able to know and see what works and what doesn't. So, and then be innovative, be as creative as possible to create meals that your clients would enjoy, would nourish and enjoy.
Thank you, Lola. That's great. Yeah, because the truth is that less weight means increased bottom line, right?
Yes, just like you said, for every waste, that means your profit, your effort is
down the
going
drain.
yes, it's going down.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So last question of the day, because we just have this last minute, right? Last 2 minutes for Zach.
Okay.
All right. So question for you. How do you see these initiatives contributing to the creation of green jobs and a more sustainable economy?
Well, let me start this by saying that every one of us, every participant and everyone who's listening or participating in this webinar, we're all environmentalists in our hearts. We all are. But at the same time, we are also polluters. So if we with what we were trying to make people understand that yes, you have a good intention. So with the good intention, you also need to have solution that will engage the good intention. That's why we keep saying the word rethink. Rethink what is the current situation for what we are at. Well, landfills are full. That's one of them. Well, it costs so much money. Like Lola said that she runs a restaurant. So every time there's an operating expenditure to her restaurant, that means the cost of the price of the food also goes up because someone has to pay for it. So if you and I are looking at in Canada, for example, why the food prices are going so much? When we grow so much and we're throwing so much, so why the food prices going up? Well, operating expenditures have gone up, such as a landfill tipping fee, such as someone's coming and taking them to the landfill. So all of those money, someone's paying for it. So who is paying? We are paying. So why don't we recalibrate our mindsets to think differently, to find a better solution that we can become a best practitioner by doing things what we need to do. As Ahmad pointed out, this young man, he said he's going to be a future physician. Fantastic. But the point is again, what kind of food are we going to have right now that is causing the problem? Why can we not have organic fertilizer instead of using synthetic fertilizer, for example? So all of those things, if we can incorporate that into our mindset, then we have a better life, a better future, not only for ourselves, but for our future generation that we all love. And that's what I feel Provectors have been working with. And I mentioned in my chat, we are working right now about working with Africa, for example. People are cutting down the trees in order to use the wood in order to cook. So instead of using wood, that's taken away. If you cut out the trees, there's no more oxygen then. You're cutting off the oxygen. So why not use the biomass that comes out from food waste that can be reused again as a source of clean energy? So there are tons of things that we're trying to do. And hopefully you will hear more about what we're doing. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Zach. That's amazing. So, it's been an amazing session, where question and answers. It's been great, and I thank you all for your, for your time, for the work you put in to ensure that to pass your knowledge across. It's been great knowledge sharing, and I'm really grateful for that. So with that said, we're going to go into the questions and answers, right? And this is now open to everybody and anybody, and it's going to be, we will have a question and then we'll have the panelists all answer the question, anyone that thinks that they have answers to that question. So I'm going to move over to our audience now, and if they have questions, they can raise their hands, they can drop it in the chat. And yeah, I will answer your questions. Questions?
I think there's one for Zach in the comments.
Okay. Anisha? Can you read it, please? Let me see.
Here, I can read it for Zach. Chris asks you, what type of businesses does Provectus work with?
Well, thank you very much for asking. We work with anyone from farmers because they grow a lot of food. They throw a lot of food. As going back to the farm, we believe in from plate to farm, farm to plate. So we believe in a full cycle of that. At the same time, we also work with hotels, even restaurants, golf club, wherever food is. So instead of those items going to the landfill, even Ahmad, I'll be more than happy to talk to you about your food that you are throwing them away. So instead of throwing them away, why not convert them into something that becomes a great branding for you, at the same time an opportunity to earn carbon credits too. So that again becomes another opportunity for highlighting what you're doing. Thank you.
That's another angle of looking at it. So that's great. Great. So I'm looking at the comments and I see here Bridget, she said food insecurity is a wicked problem. Every solution affects something else, and there is no single fix. But by learning, collaborating, and taking even small actions, we can make a real difference together. That is very true. That is very true. Everybody working together, collaborating, and experience when you focus on just one solution, you are creating a problem elsewhere. But when you work holistically on solutions, right, you're able to, increase your impact, increase your impact and really better solution to problems that are there. Okay.
We also have a question from Chris for Chef Lola. Is the focus of Flawless Cuisine primarily focused on plant-based menu?
No, we're not focused only on plant-based menu. Menu, cuts across both plant and animal base, since we focus more on authentic West African cuisine. And in West African cuisine, we have the plant-based and the other, and the animal base too. So we do both.
Yes, you do. Okay, great. So I can speak at least. I've had Lola's food. Lola's food is really tasty, I have to say. I'll throw that in.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is.
Okay, so I think Minas has, we have hands raised, Minas and Sharon. So we will go with Minas. Let me see. So you can unmute yourself, Minas.
Okay, thank you so much. I just want to say that I found this webinar quite by accident, and I'm so glad I did. I can't remember where I found it, but it's not my usual contacts. I've worked in the environmental field for a really long time. And for those of you who have, know that this is a very unusual webinar for an environmental group. Like usually it's a very white panelists and white audience. So I just want to say I'm so I almost want to cry because this is so unusual. And
Oh, wow.
and it's just amazing. Like all the panelists have been just incredible. And I hear what you're saying, and you're working for the people that you represent, right? Like the stats that you gave at the beginning, Gobi, like how you see Black at the top, Black people are the ones that are most impacted by food insecurity and every environmental disaster that there is. Climate change is going to impact the Black community the most, right? And then we see your stats. So I'm really glad that this whole webinar is based on actual stats, because that's what the funders say. Well, where are the stats? Well, you showed them to us.
Not for you.
I think that question that you asked Anisha about what are the solutions, what are the resources for all these groups, because I think they're all facing the same things, right? Like resources, like our communities get the least resources, maybe because of the grant writing. Partnerships are difficult for small organizations that are so focused on doing the work that they do and have limited resources. And so how do we partner effectively? And then funding, right? Do we do the work in the gardens? Do we grow our food, or do we do funding? How do we split that work, right? And the big funding from the federal government is going to the environmentalists who've been around for a long time and are doing conservation, and those things are important. But how do we shine a light on this work, on climate justice, on environmental equity? We need to talk more about that and come together. Like, this is great. How do we grow this? Is my question. So I'm just really happy that you put this together and that I found you. And thank you for all the panelists. You were all fabulous.
Can I say something for Minaz?
Okay.
Very quickly, Minaz. Well, thank you very much for highlighting what you just said. The planet is not only for A people or B people or C type of people. It's for every one of us. But yes, there are a group of people. We all work in a cliquish way, in a different way, unfortunately. But at the same time, I'm also very happy with the fact that when we connect the dots, we make a picture. That's what I believe in. But if you don't, then you just remain a dot. So whatever thing that what I'm investing my time with Obi, I don't know Obi. I've never met her in my life. How did she know about me? Because we got connected somehow. So I'm quite sure that many of us will be crossing paths someday and be able to understand that we can make the difference and we should make the difference. And with a positive note, we have been invited by the City of Toronto for circularity, for recognizing our engagement finally. But that doesn't mean that we're going to give up. So we continue doing what we've been doing. But again, with your encouraging word, what you just said, Minan, I think will make the difference. Thank you.
Great.
I just want to respond. Sorry, I just want to respond to that. I've been in this field for a long time, and I like your analogy of connecting the dots. I completely agree. But the dots are separate. And once this webinar is done, we're going to go back to being a dot, right? Like, I think that we have made those connections. I also want to say that, other environmentalists who've been environmentalists for a long time can do this on a volunteer basis. Most of us can't, right? Like, we need to get paid for the things that have traditionally been volunteer based, right? So when I'm saying that we need to find a way to come together, I'm not saying come together as a volunteer. I'm saying let's look for funding to bring us together to continue to connect those dots and see how we move forward. Because I think that this is a start. And I love your analogy, Zach. Let's connect the dots. Let's make our own picture. Thank you.
Yeah, we have to hold on. Just one question, because Sharon's hand has been up, so I need to go to her. And after her, we have to end it. And we do have an after this. I mean, as I have to say, we do have an after. So I'm going to give the floor to Sharon, okay, so that you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Really quickly, Sharon, I'm really sorry to interrupt. I have a hard out right now, so I'm going to head out. But I know Obi's going to share some next steps with you. But it was really nice connecting with everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, Harris. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry, I don't want to really be on camera right now, but I really enjoyed this webinar. I did miss some of it because my daughter is sick and I'm dealing with her. But I have a question for Anisha. Anisha, like, I know your work, I see what you do, and oh my God, you're amazing. But what my question is for you is, like, okay, for instance, like where we live, like in the TCHC buildings, townhouses, we have, like for me, I have a decent sized yard. I try gardening, but I am not good at it. How do we learn to do this, like on a smaller scale, like what you're doing? Like, are you teaching the kids how to grow food and good food and stuff like that? How do we learn how to really be gardeners at home with the little space that we do have? Like, do you have any suggestions? Because I am not good at this gardening thing. I tried it and I grew two little things, but I think I could have done a lot better with the space that I had.
Okay, so Hi, Sharon. It all starts
Anisha,
with the
can please
soil.
keep your answer
Everything
brief
starts with the
without
soil.
quickly.
If you don't have good soil, you're not going to really be able to produce, you're not going to have the best fruits be produced. So number one, it's just kind of getting to understand the basics of soil and what nutrients needs to be in the soil. There's an amazing company that we usually get our soil from, which is called Pure Life Soil. It's really clean and it's amazing. Other than that, you can definitely come to our garden. We have workshops ongoing throughout our gardening season where you can come and learn about different plants that will work for you. There's a lot of plants that are low maintenance, and I think that's what the issue is with a lot of people when they say they can't grow or they can't plant. Like plants, like say for instance, callaloo. If the seed drops there, it's going to grow. It doesn't need much to grow. You just learn how to cut it in the right way. Once it's cut in the right way, and you use a clean knife to do it, it will grow that much more. So definitely come by our garden space. I think you know where our first one is in Summerlee Park, and you can learn from there. But if nothing else you take from me, just remember it all starts with the soil. Make sure your soil has the nutrients that it needs in there. If you don't know how to add natural amendments to the soil, a great place to purchase from is Pure Life Soil. Alrighty, thank you.
Thanks, Anisha. That's great. So, Jennifer, we can round up now. Yep.
Okay, so thank you everyone for your excellent questions and your meaningful answers. So we have one last really fast poll activity for this webinar, and the last poll is now being published. Please take some time to answer this while we talk about our upcoming community challenge.
In honor of the UN International Day of Awareness of Food Loss and Waste Day, we're inviting everyone to join in on our 30-day Food Waste and Loss Challenge. The goal of this activity is to reduce household waste over the span of 30 days and to transform habits into action. Join in on the hashtag Food Waste Challenge page in our Slack channel and share your weekly updates. A link to our Slack channel is being sent in the chat. Please join using this link and navigate to the first Food Waste Challenge on the left. Our 30 days will be divided into 4 weeks that each center around a different theme. We have the awareness and audit, smart shopping and cooking, food rescue and distribution, and creative solutions and advocacy. Further information will be provided in the channel. By joining in on this channel, you can gain recognition badges in the Slack, have your story published in EnvironBuzz magazine, and receive a completion certificate. Outstanding efforts will be spotlighted across our channel.
And we would also just like to update everyone with an upcoming webinar in the near future. So we invite you all to join us on October 17th for a special webinar in honor of the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. And this highlights the social and institutional mistreatment of those living in low-income circumstances. Let's learn how we can tackle the issue of poverty together and build a more equitable future. Please stay tuned for more information.
All right, thanks, Jennifer. So, thank you for joining From Waste to Value. We're deeply grateful to our speakers, the panelists, and for their insights, and to our funders for making this conversation possible. So today's discussions remind us that addressing food loss and waste is not just important, right? It's urgent, like it's doable. Let's take these ideas forward, collaborate. Please, let's collaborate, if we partnerships, anything we can do together. And also really looking to, we do the challenge, because from doing the challenge, a lot can come out of that as well. So turn challenges into opportunities for sustainable, resilient, and equitable food systems. So thank you for your engagement, and we look forward to continuing this dialogue together forward. And then please Next slide. So our social media. So look at our social media. Please follow us on social media. We will always keep you updated. Like we have your email, so we will send you information. Join our Slack team so we can all work together to get this going. So to create the change that we seek. It's on us. It's from me to community, was me to we. So thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.